Yep. Welcome to Riga. This is my first visit to Riga, and I I enjoyed the city so far. I just arrived yesterday, though. Anyway, the, as you yeah, I like the smaller conferences. Like you know, the Baltic Ruby is far smaller than the super big Ruby conference like a Ruby Kaigi, which is probably 10 times bigger than this audience. But at the same time, there are too many people to talk with, and then they have multiple tracks, and then they have to choose which talk to hear or something. And then, but those smaller conferences are very, the compact and with single track, and it's quite easy to communicate each other. Yeah. That communication or conversation is one of the source of the friendliness of the Ruby community. So that's the reason I'm here. Yeah, all the way from Japan. Yeah. From Tokyo to Helsinki, it took 13 hours, and that was tired. Anyway, this is the kind of the clone of the Ruby Kaigi Keynote. So that which some of may hear in Matsuyama, Japan, but okay, I need to show the difference. The first thing is that I talked in Japanese there, and this is in English. The second one, this is slightly updated to, so that you have the latest news from the Ruby development. Okay, let me tell you about the programming language for AI age. And if we were talking about the programming language for AI, so use Python. The end. But anyway, but we are talking about the programming language for AI age. So that I have to ask you a question. So that do you use AI for coding? How many of you? Raise your hand. Okay, most of you. The GPT appeared 3 years ago, but it changed everything. Now we have the Gemini or Cloud or many other the AI, and we have some AI supporting tools for coding, like the Cloud Code, Google Jules, or the Cursor, now VS Code plugin, and so we have a lot of those AI supported tools that made us, productive, right? Yeah, some of us vibe code, but probably I'm not the AI expert, so that I tried some of those tools, and at least I faced terrible experiences. It's kind of like asking to code to a junior developer. Sometimes worse than juniors. They made some mistakes, misunderstanding, and then, that in some agent mode, they made mistake, and I tell you to fix that bug. So they fix that bug, but generate the other bug. And then if I tell you the new one, so they revive the old one. But at least we have good news. The AIs are getting smarter each week. That we have, few weeks ago, the Google Juice appeared, and I tried, and it only consumed 5 tasks a day. That is kind of small. But next week, we have the 60 tasks in a day. That is far advanced. So the AIs are getting smart. So that right now, AIs are sometimes worse than junior developers. But maybe in the future, AI would be sufficiently smart. Or sometimes maybe even smarter than the senior developers. What would happen? So the people's imagination is very limited. So that we project the future from the current status of the AI smartness. But suppose you're, say, sci-fi author, and imagine the 10 years ago of AI coding. So that in that stage, what language will we use? What language will we use? Any idea? Okay, probably we use the English, or Japanese, or Chinese, or Russian. Because the AIs were very good at understanding the human language. So that to express our intention, our purpose, goals, so that our vision, so we probably use our language, you mean human language. So that I used to be a lot to produce essays, or documents in the human language. In those tasks, AIs are very good at, sometimes better than me. So the AIs are good at writing essays, documents, because it's a large language model. Language means the human language. But sometimes human language are too verbose for actual coding. So some concepts are too complex to describe in a human language. So think about that. The history of mathematics, so that in ancient Greece, the mathematicians described the solutions or their proofs in human language, maybe in the Greeks. But it was possible. It was possible. So the ancient Greek has the extraordinary effort to make a theory or something. For example, the oldest algorithm, the thief of Eratosthenes, was invented in the before Christ. But in around 17th centuries, the mathematical expression was invented. The mathematics became much more easier because we can express some kind of the abstract concept of mathematics in very compact and a clear and logical way. Yeah, so the mathematical concepts are very abstract, and to handle those abstract concepts requires some artificial language. That which is the mathematical expression. That probably you know that the programming or the development of the software is also a very abstract concept. The software does not have the physical entity, so that it is virtually not limited by the law of physics, so that you can build as big as possible to you can make the very complex software, the probably millions of the tens of millions of lines of software. Yeah, for example, the Windows 11 or Linux Linux has the tens of millions of lines of code. This is very, very complex software. Even Ruby has the millions of lines of code. They're very, very complex. And that complexity of abstract concept is only limited by the human ability to handle abstract concept. Our brain is the bottleneck. So that expressing those complex concepts in human language is nearly impossible. And if AIs do not have that kind of limitation of brains, so that if I ask AIs to describe everything in the Ruby implementation, for example, so that they would generate hundreds of millions of lines of English documents, but probably we are not able to understand those huge documents. So we need more concise expression of the software, which is written in programming language for both humans and machines. So that with the existence of the sufficiently advanced AIs, so that programming language will be the method to communicate between humans and communication between the man and machines. So that the programming language will be the way to communicate, not the instruct machines. That's the reason that we will have programming language in the sufficiently advanced future. So that the current AI age, the many programming language has static typing, and the programming language with static typing is quite popular these days after the 2010s, because with static typing, the humans can detect errors, and as I told you, the AIs make mistakes very often in the current days. So the static typing really needed for AI age? Currently, yes, because AI is junior level. The types will help detect errors from AI. But in the future, AI is sufficiently smarter, probably we might not need static typing, because the humans, smart people don't care about static typing. Yeah, ask small talkers, lispers, for example. Or maybe, you're a senior Ruby developer. That as, your skills grows, the typing is gradually disappear from your mind. It's so natural. As, when you move your arms, you probably have the order to your muscles, but usually you don't care about the muscles. Just move the arm. Similar things happens in coding. Of course, Ruby has types, dynamic types, but as your skill grows, you don't care about types. It's just natural. You can process them unconsciously. So the small talkers, lippers, Rubies don't care about static typing because it's invisible for us. It's unconscious for us. So if in the future the smart AI requires static typing still, I don't think so. When I program, I face type error sometimes, but just by silly mistake, you can fix them in a seconds. But the real problem relies on the specification misunderstanding, or maybe misunderstanding the basic feature of the external API or something like that. The errors relies on the structure, not in the surface types, surface types. So that I don't think AI would make those silly errors of static typing. The simple abstract interpretation could help. Like we have some tools like type profs to retrieve the static type information from Ruby program without any type declaration. So that's probably, I believe, that's sufficient for Ruby. So the question is, why many people love static typing? Probably you have a friend who loves the static types programming language, like a Rust, TypeScript, or Go, or whatever. So some people really, really love static typing because it has some benefit, at least at the present time. And because it's popular, these days, the static type programming language is pretty much popular, like Rust, Go, or TypeScript, or even, the Python with type hints, and the PHP with a type declaration. And last but not least is because static typing is fun. I'm C programmer, actually. The Ruby is written in C. So the C has a static typing. But its static typing is pretty much simple. And then it has clear benefit of you can find the type, inconsistency as the compiler. And it's very easy. Its type system is very easy. But at the same time, the C type system is imperfect. So to make type system perfect and sound, they need some more complete typing. For example, C++ introduced the templates. Like Java introduced the generics. And then Rust introduced the parameter, something similar to generic, and the algebraic type. So that they introduced more features for typing, and then that static type can describe the part of the logic in programs. And then the type system getting bigger and bigger and more and more complex and getting harder. The harder the type system is, the more fun the programming is, because it's kind of puzzles. So there's a very easy puzzle, like 15 puzzles, but I don't think we have the world contest for 15 puzzles. It's too easy. But for example, the Rubik Cube. Rubik Cube is pretty hard. So I used to do the Rubik Cubes a lot, and but I forget the method totally. So that I can now. I don't think I can solve the Rubik Cube puzzles, but it is quite amazing how good the champions do the Rubik Cubes. Like in some solving Rubik Cubes puzzle in say five seconds or something like that, or even without looking at the cube, they can fix the puzzles. And then Rubik's Cube is a very, very, very complex puzzle, and it is fun. So that I suspect they choose static typing for fun. Yeah, probably using Rust is fun because they suffer so many type errors and the borrow checkers. Don't get me wrong. I have no offense about the Rust language or any static typing programming language, but remember, we choose Ruby for fun, and they choose Rust for fun. Yeah, we are, equally precious. So that I even created Ruby for fun, so that they have no valid reason to blame us. Yeah, only one thing I was irritated was that some very small portion of the static programming, static typing camp, they blame us as we are very, old and ancient, out of history or something like that. That irritates me. I choose Ruby for fun. I created Ruby for fun. You choose Rust for fun. Okay, that's kind of comparing apples and oranges, and that's okay. You will be happy with the static typing, and I will be happy with the dynamic typing. That's okay. And in reality, and the programming language for AI age, and when AI is sufficiently smarter, that probably we don't need the static type information. We don't need to provide static type information from human because AI can understand the concept of the types in their side, so that we don't have to provide type information from us. Remember the old age, the computer science textbook? We have some example programs in something named the pseudocode, which is the kind of the virtual programming language to describe the algorithm. It has very simple, complex, the simple syntax, and a very simple the construct of that programming language, kind of subset of any other programming language. And usually, those pseudocode does not have the type information because we don't have to provide the type information to describe the algorithm. So it tries to be concise and expressive and extendable. It should be concise because it should be short in tokens. Not only for the AI context window, because in the future AI context window will be far bigger than the current days, but because our brain is very much limited. So when we describe something, so that the tokens or concept in our mind should be minimal. And then the expression should be very easy to understand. Just like mathematical expressions or pseudo language in textbook. So that then expressive means that we are not in the textbook. So that we are working on the real world programs, like level pass or the colorless thing. That would be wonderful. Okay, so it requires the ability to describe real world problems, and the language should have the battle-proof expressiveness. The extendable. So the writing programs is kind of the adding vocabulary as you need, the classes, modules, methods. Then, or even language on top of the existing programming language. That is extensible. In maybe more than 10 years ago, the Dave Thomas, who wrote the programmatic programmers, once stated that our programming effort or writing application is the way to define our own DSL to describe what application is. The Rails is kind of the DSL, domain-specific language, to describe what the web is, web application is. So that those domains, the ability to define domain-specific language on top of the language is the very unique and useful feature of the future language. Okay, remember the programming language of AI age should be concise and expressive and extendable. But we might know the language with these kind of the features, concise, expressive, and extensible. Name that. Kind of forceful. Ruby. So it's in Japanese, it's Kenkyofukai, which is so far-fetched. But probably, as I believe, the Ruby owns the required property for the language of AI age. But the future is fragile, so that we try to make the future in reality. So to create that future, we need data and tools and performance. The data means that all languages are not equal for AI. The more code in the model, the more precise result we get. For example, if I create a new language, the unknown language, so that if I ask ChatGPT about that language, ChatGPT would say, I don't know that language because it's my creation and the information is not widely available. But if I ask it about the Ruby, so it will answer a lot of things about Ruby. And if I provide Ruby program to the AI, probably it will answer about that Ruby programs. They can read Ruby program, they can understand Ruby programs, and maybe they can even fix the bug in the Ruby programs because AI knows much about Ruby. So that means the more data AI has, the more precise they can react. Probably nowadays, if I ask about the JavaScript or TypeScript or Python, maybe ChatGPT will answer more descriptive or more precise answers. But it will keep being true for foreseeable future, more data, more precise. So sometimes we get some kind of the old-fashioned Ruby code from AI. So we need more code. We need more modern code. So that we need to disclose more code with quality. So that if there's no, the copyright problem, copyright issues, anything. Disclose your software, disclose your modern software, disclose your quality software. So we need more open source our Ruby code. And then as I talked with a very big Ruby company before, that they are planning to provide their data, the Ruby code, to say OpenAI or other AI companies to provide more modern quality Ruby code to improve the quality of the AI response. That is nice things, but we can do that by making more open source in Ruby. So that try to disclose your software. Second, tools. We have a lot of tools, Robocop, Steep, Typeprof, Solbed, or debugger, RB, parsers, the Ruby LSP. Parsers is not really a tool, but the fundamental of the tools. The more tools, more productivity. So we have invested for tools since Ruby 3.0. We will keep going. We will keep going. And then the performance is also important because somehow everyone loves performance. Faster the better. So the Ruby is not designed to be faster programming language. If I design Ruby to optimize for performance, the Ruby programs would run faster. But I design Ruby optimized for humans, optimized for developers, so that there's some behavior of Ruby language that hinders optimization. But I think that's okay. That's okay. But still, no one complains about the faster Ruby. And we are trying to make Ruby faster. So that we are trying, every year, we are trying to make Ruby faster, sponsoring big companies, especially the Shopify. So we introduced a JIT compiler in Ruby, the YJIT, and then new coming ZJIT. I will explain later. And we are going to implement the de-optimization of the JIT compiler. And this year, we are improving the class.new, which is the object allocation of Ruby language. And we are working on the concurrency to improve the performance as a whole. The program has focused on the problems at hand. That's fair. And in short time, Ruby lacks something for AI age. But in the long run, we will dominate the world. At least partially. We have a lot to contribute. The data, tools, performance, and we welcome you. Because you are the community. You are the Ruby community. Because you are in the Baltic Ruby, right? Yeah. And you are the source of the power of the community, power of Ruby. They come join us, and thank you. But you know that rabbit is not far away from the goal. One more thing. In recent years, since the introduction of the JIT compiler, we have improved the performance of the Ruby by far. After introducing the YJIT since 3.2, each year, Rails application will run 10 to 15% faster each year. That is wonderful things. But bad news is we don't expect that much improvement this year. I'm sorry. But most of the majority of the development with YJIT is driven by the YJIT team in Shopify. They are all hired full-time to improve the JIT compiler. I'm not sure the number of the teams, but probably 3-4 people working full-time for improving JIT compiler. That is wonderful things. And that's the source of the 10 to 15% improvement each year. But this year, they decided to re-implement JIT compiler again, which is named JZ, with new JIT compiler. Since they are working on implementing the JZ, so that they have less power to improve the YJIT performance. So the next version releasing this December will not have the 10 to 15% improvement of the YJIT compiler. But instead, we will have the experimental new JIT compiler, which is the method-based JIT. YJIT is the unique algorithm of the basic block versioning, which is described in the PhD thesis of the major developer, Maxime. But she decided to move on to the new algorithm because it is method-based JIT is quite good and quite easy to understand and described in the most computer science textbook, which is she wants to open up the new possibility to welcoming the new contributor to the JIT compiler. So that if you have some knowledge about computer science or if you are interested in writing JIT compiler, so that please try to read and understand and try to contribute to the JIT compiler. It will open up a new possibility. And you may be hired by Shopify. YJIT and ZJIT is written in Rust. Anyway, it has a SSAIR, higher level internal representation, single assignment, static single assignment. Then the point is that we are planning saving the result of the JIT compiler, which is the native code, into files, so that we can cache the result of the JIT compilation, which means that next time you execute the program, you don't have to JIT compile if the program has not been changed or touched. You just need to reload the native code from the file. That you can skip altogether the JIT compilation, which will be far, far faster. You know that? And we can restart web application again and again. And then probably JIT compiler compiles Ruby code into native code millions of times, again and again, same code. But with caching to the file of the native code, we can skip these millions of compilation altogether, which would boost the performance of which can improve the performance very much. Those wonderful things. So that even though we cannot expect 10 to 15% performance boost this year, but we can expect even more performance improvement in the future, probably next year, probably 2 years later or something, so that we can expect the bright future of the performance improvement, which is good things. Even one more thing. 1995, December 21st, which is I released Ruby for the first time, version 0.95. It is exactly 30 years ago. And then this year, each year we release the new version of the Ruby language. And then this year we have Ruby 3.4. Next year, we will have the Ruby 3.5. But celebrating the 30 years, we will have the Ruby 4.0. And then this year, April 1st, which is April Fool's Day, I tweeted, we will see Ruby 4.0 this year, and then mind the date. The 1st of April. Ruby 4.0, I will take the Linux style, which is not the semantic versioning, but if something, impressed the author, Linus for Linux, and then me for Ruby, so that I will update the major version. Having 30 years of community very impressed me, so that I will motivated to upgrade the version. And then probability is raising day by day. So that, I'm even more confident that I present this in the Ruby Kaigi in April, and this is June, so that probabilities go higher, probably 82%. Yeah. So in addition, Ruby 4.0 with the experimental ZJS compiler, which I explained just now, and along with the experimental namespace things. Experimental JIT, I explained already, and then I told you about the experimental namespace. 20 years ago, 2004, I have some concept of the Ruby 2, which is the rewriting version of the Ruby language. The 20 years ago, this is kind of popular movement among the programming language community to start everything from scratch. So that Perl people try to create the brand new version of the Perl language, which they named the Perl 6. And they are very ambitious. And they are too ambitious. And then everyone else was left behind. And do you know that the most recent version of the Perl language? Perl 5.38. It's not really a Perl 6. So that they are too ambitious, and then they changed everything. They changed everything. The other community members did not consider it as a future of the Perl, but a different language. So that many people call the Perl 6 as a name of the language. And some years ago, they renamed the Perl 6 into Raku, which sounds like Japanese, but we have the new language, Raku, but virtually no one used the Raku yet. Similar things happened in the Python community. The Python community tried to create the brand new version of the Python programming language. And then they named it Python 3000. Then they gradually renamed it the Python 3. And then until a few years ago, the Python community had a kind of the split between the Python 2, the traditional legacy Python, and the Python 3, the newer version of Python. So these ideas almost all of those ideas failed or the troubled seriously. So but 20 years ago, I was younger, of course, and more ambitious, and then I tried to create the new version of the re-implemented from scratch. So I had a list of the ideas I wanted it introduced into the new version of the programming language. And then, luckily, I was too lazy to keep managing that kind of idea of creating new version of the language. So the project was abandoned, and then instead of throw away old version, but we kept improving the existing implementation of the language to gradually introduce those list of ideas. Among those ideas, we introduced say JIT compiler or whatever. Great. JIT compiler, the name things. What? I don't remember. I don't remember the list. Anyway, so the namespace is the last ideas in the list. So finally, I'm going to introduce the idea into the Ruby language. Currently, namespace is create the namespace from, this one. Create namespace, then you can load file into the namespace, or you can require some gems into the namespace. Then the content of the files and the content of the gems requires only in that namespace. Or you can evaluate the strings in the scope of the namespace. But this is quite experimental. Then the class name, namespace will be changed because in some applications, they use the class name, that class name in the real world application, namely GitLab. Yeah, I don't want to crush GitLab altogether. So the name will be changed. It is experimental, so the API will be fragile, and the behavior may change. And remember, that is kind of the low-level API. So after releasing Ruby 4.0, I tried to design the higher-level API to create namespace, to use other namespace, what behavior may change. What? Behavior means then okay. Yeah, probably from jet lag. Anyway, that's about all, folks. The talk will be sponsored by the NSA company, which is in Japan, and which hires me, and the OSS Vision, which is also a Japanese company, which hires me, and then my activity is sponsored by GitHub sponsors, and then namely these companies, Baltic and JetBrains and Shopify has the huge sponsorship in the GitHub sponsors. And my talk is sponsored and supported by the Ruby community as a whole. And you supported me, and thank you.